I'm selling, I'm not buying. So, you know, do you have interest in it? And, you know, you look at the numbers and it was just like, well, okay, what's the note? And a lot of times you look at the note and they'll just take what's on the note. Like, we just want to cash out. We just want to be done.
Welcome to the Michigan Real Estate Investor Network podcast, hashtag the network. This is episode 5, brought to you by Rockwood Mortgage.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Jeff Shipp here with we're here with the Michigan Real Estate Investors Network with another great podcast, the Network Podcast. We're here with 3 great guests today. Blair right across, Dan, and Tom Nate. But we're here today. They're going to give us some great nuggets today. We're going to get some great knowledge, so make sure you listen close. Even take some notes. Why don't we do our 2-minute elevator pitch and introduce yourself, Blair?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Blair Clark. I am currently involved in wholesaling and rental. I'm also a full-time stay-at-home mom, and so I just try to make everything happen with my children running around in the background, literally clinging to the bottoms of my pants legs. And so right now I am focusing on trying to increase my rental property portfolio and then also hook in some wholesale deals at the same time.
That's great. That's great. Dan, how about you?
I am a licensed real estate broker. I have my law degree, but I'm not a practicing attorney. But it kind of segued nicely into the brokerage. I have 2 agents that work for me. And then I also do commercial, retail, residential rentals, as well as, you know, some flips and renovations. I don't do any wholesaling. I know that's kind of popular in the group, but I'll buy some of the stuff that you're wholesaling.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, that's kind of, I stick. Erica kind of pitch me as being the northern area expert, and I kind of tend to stay out this way.
Okay.
And let all you sharks go fight.
Go fight them. Take it up here where you're alone.
Yeah.
Great. Nate, how about you?
I'm mainly a buy and hold investor. I do a lot of flips. Just right now I don't have any going on. But my whole focus, even with flips, is to get more rentals. I was actually just talking to him. I do have a couple storefronts that I don't know anything about, so I was asking for some advice. But I pretty much buy anything that makes money, and my intent is to hold everything. But I flip stuff to get more money to buy more.
Oh, there you go.
That's my favorite.
Well, I know that we've talked before, and you're looking more to go into a lot of the multifamily now, right?
Yeah, I'm looking to move into large, like medium-sized multifamily. You know, like anywhere from 20 up to 100 units, ideally, start with.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. Now, Dan, do you have any that you hold right now? Are you doing any holding?
No.
No, not right now?
I actually just sold in the past couple months. What was it? I had a commercial actually right down here in Romeo, and I did a flip also right here in Romeo. But not right now. I'm working on a commercial in Elmont, but it's a total gut job, complete renovation from the ground up. I guess, and I'll hold that. I won't. I have no intention of flipping that at all.
Okay, that's going to be your property to hold and lease
out
and all that.
Baby.
That's going to be your baby. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to let them go sometimes, isn't it? Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah. Now, Blair, you I know that you gave a lot of great content on the group's Facebook page, and I'm seeing the other day something about your goal by the end of next year was to have 20 rental properties.
Yeah, so because I started real estate investing at literally the same time that we started our family, everything has been a little bit more slow going for me. So in the last 3 years, I actually only have 4 projects under my belt because it's just in the in-between of everything else that we do. But now that the kids are getting a little bit older, and the oldest one will be going into preschool next year, I'm actually going to have a lot more time on my hands. So trying to launch into this more full time. So my goal is, it's just this like kitschy catchy thing, and I like those kinds of things, like alliteration and cutesy stuff. So I made a goal for myself, and I call it my 2020 goal. So I want to have 20 units by the end of the year 2020. So that's my goal right now. So not necessarily 20 properties, but I want to have 20 units.
Yeah, it could be anything, small apartments or anything like that, 20 doors, yeah.
Yeah, and so I live in Mount Clemens, and I'm really familiar with that area, so that's where my rental property is right now, is in Mount Clemens, which is a pretty high rental area, so I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at, not necessarily a building, but, so a lot of the properties in Mount Clemens, which I know people are pretty familiar with that area, they were these huge, massive homes, single-family homes at one point in time, and I don't know, maybe in like the 50s or 60s, they just started to compartmentalize them. There's a lot of 2, 3, 4 unit homes that you can purchase, and they're relatively, like reasonably priced. So there's a property that I'm looking at that's a 4 unit that's just kind of like down the street and across the way from me, and then there's a 2 unit that I'm looking at as well. And then there's also a property in Warren that I'm looking at right now, just a single-family home. So the city of Warren is a place where I've got my eye on it too, because there's a lot of rental properties south of 10 Mile. And I just know those areas pretty well. So my dad's from East Point, and so I spend a lot of time there. So Warren's right next door.
Yeah.
So I know Warren really well. I live in Mount Clemens, so I'm just trying to like focus on, where it is that I know, and places with that have like a high rental. So.
No, and that's actually a great strategy to take.
Okay, Blair, back to what we were talking about. You're talking about investing in the areas that you really like, and you're from Mount Clemens, you live there. You're real familiar with Warren, so you're looking down there for the great rental areas. Yeah. Myself, I like that area. We got some down there right now that I'm flipping, though. I'm not renting. Just getting rid of them. Warren's a great area. Great returns. Yeah, yep. That's what I've noticed about it too. So like I've said on other podcasts, I'm not originally from the Metro Detroit area, so I just got to keep it, within my wheelhouse of what I actually do know, since I don't have like the scope of the whole entire area. Mm-hmm. And that'll all come with time. You look at a lot of them, you start out in small and then you start looking at opportunities and you go wider and wider wherever they shall bring you. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Now, Dan, you said that you do commercial, and you had a commercial property here right in Romeo.
Yep. Oh, right across the street.
Oh, really? Right across the street. Okay, that makes it real convenient.
True.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? Dive into a little bit of the commercial, because a lot of people don't know much about the commercial aspect, what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, I think that the commercial aspect up this way is probably a lot different than some of the commercial that you're going to find down south a little. You know what I mean? I mean, that's even Hall Road or Birmingham, Bloomfield, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you're talking, Jonah, they're everywhere, right? Yeah. That's huge. I mean, those are massive developments. Out this way, though, in my experience, the commercial is really pretty similar to what you would do in a residential situation. The property here, for instance, across the street, it was off market, and like I said, I was telling Nate. I mean, I know a lot of people around here. My grandpa grew up here, my dad, me, and so you hear things, a small town, and there's a lot of opportunity to be had, especially right now around here. There's a lot of people who are getting older that have owned these places for 30 some years, and it's changing hands a lot. So that was sort of a situation where it was off market, and one of my mentors who lives, been around Romeo for 40 plus years, he called me, said, "Hey, I would buy this myself, but he's 75 years old. He's like, I'm selling, I'm not buying. So, do you have interest in it?" And, you look at the numbers, and it was just like, well, okay, what's the note? And a lot of times you look at the note and they'll just take what's on the note. Like, we just want to cash out. We just want to be done. Yeah. And so bought it, probably put 10 into it, filled it up with good leases, and essentially flipped it 2 years later for a nice return.
Nice return.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So I mean, to speak to the commercial aspect, I mean, out this way, you're not gonna get huge nursing homes or giant developments or box retail, anything like that. You're gonna get mom and pop's coffee shop. You're gonna get penny candy, things like that.
Yeah.
But it works. It works if you buy it right. It works, and if you can be a little bit, stick your neck out a little bit. I was again telling Nate before we started here, the building in Elmont there, I had to get a little bit creative with it. Elmont is far from a booming, bustling economy, vacant everywhere. But I kind of looked at it and was like, look, if I can get it for this, my budget is this to fix it, I can make this work if they'll let me get some more passive income that I know will be easy, meaning residential rental. Okay. So I went through the process of getting a variance granted through the ZBA, and this was all in my purchase agreement contingent, that this had to happen. And you'd be shocked. I mean, they were like, you're gonna buy it. You're gonna fix it. You're gonna fix it. Yeah. How can we help? How can we help? So they literally gave me a variance to put up to a 3-bedroom apartment on the main floor.
Really?
Yep. The back 1,300 square feet of the main floor. So now I have will have a beautiful, I made it a 2 because it just fit better. A beautiful 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot on the bottom, and a 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot on the top. I'm 100% confident is going to give me a passive income of around $2,200 a month.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And for what I'm going to have into it, what I think it'll be worth after, again, I have no intention of selling it, but if I did, very confident I could make a return on that. Plus I have all that passive income. It gives me wiggle room for what I wanted in the front commercial spot. Cause I mean, I told you kind of joking around, but it is true. That one tugs at my heartstrings. I went to Elmont, go back and coach there now. And so I knew it wasn't going to be the best investment I ever made, but I think I'm going to make it work. And I think it's actually going to work out pretty well. So because of that passive income that I was allowed, which it's a pretty long process. I mean, it took me several months to go through, the things that they wanted me to submit and plans and, ZBA and then the board. I got a great tenant who signed a 3-year commercial lease in the front.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So now I'm probably flowing close to 3,000 by the time I get the apartments rented out. And I get my 1,200 square foot upper commercial unit for free, basically.
So you have an upper on even the commercial?
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I have 2. Yeah. Yeah. And that'll be my own personal brokerage.
Oh, there you go. So you're going to get a free space, basically.
Well, yeah, and it's and he has, Nate, he has a corner in Richmond. I bought the corner in Elmont. It's a 4,600 square foot corner. There's 50,000 cars a day that drive by there.
Oh, wow.
So that's worth something.
Yes.
That is worth something. Yeah.
But see, that goes back to you had to think outside the box. That's what I think a lot of people get stuck is not thinking. You looked at it instead of saying, oh, what am I going to do with this? You looked at it and said, oh, I can do this.
Right.
And you really made it happen.
Yes. And look, I know, Blair is a little bit newer and I don't know everybody else around here. I got into doing this when I was probably 24. I'm going to be 32 in June. Okay. And it is scary. I get it. I get it. It is hard. It is hard to get to that point where you walk into somewhere that is torched. And you're just like, nope, no way. Like you can't save it. You cannot make money on it. Let me tell you, this is the first one that I've ever looked at and I got like sick to my stomach. And I was like, I really don't know if I can do this. But it's having the good relationships with your contractors, with your subs, and then they kind of talk you down. and honestly, now that it's cleaned up and now that there's, you can kind of see it coming together, I'm good. I'm comfortable. I'm cool. I'm
Yeah,
calm,
you're relaxed.
I'm collected.
I was like, okay, I can
I said,
sleep.
I said to my wife last night after this, I don't know that anything would scare me, you know?
There you go.
And so it's good to be able to, but you got to work your way up. I get it. 5 years ago, I would have walked in and I would have turned around and walked right back out.
Yeah, but now you're making it happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. And Nate, when you did a lot of these, like you've got some multifamilies and stuff like that and a lot of residentials, and you were doing some flips and that a while back. You were doing some of that stuff when you were going in and seeing it, like he's saying, it comes with time and experience. You walk in and most new investors, and that's actually how you get a deal really in this game. It's most people walk in and they go, oh, no, I am not touching this. Mm-hmm. And then, we walk in, it's like, oh, yeah, I can make money here. This is good. Let's do this. Yeah. And I'm sure you've run into a lot of that, like when you were picking up some of your stuff that need to be flipped.
Yeah, and I still look for flipped. Like I said, sold my last one in January a few months ago. But, a bunch of investors I know, if they walk into a foundation issue, they walk right back out the door. I love that. I have people call me for those all the time. I say 10 of my last flips, 6 of them needed foundation work. 4 of them were major. We jacked up the houses, did all kinds of stuff. The house I live in, my personal residence, I bought it for $10,000. It burnt down. I bought it burned down.
Really?
The kitchen lit on fire, so I had to do all kinds of stuff. That's the house I live in. I mean, it's like it's in St. Clair Shores. I bought a $10,000 house in St. Clair Shores, rehabbed it for like 40, 45. Might be worth 120, 130.
Yeah, great return.
But yeah,
great.
I just live there. So, I mean, that's great. But same thing. Actually, the day I showed up, there were 6 other investors there. 4 of them just left. 2 of them stayed. Supposedly 1 offered, but I'm guessing they didn't because I got it for $10,000.
Yeah. So they were trying to get it for $1,000 or something.
But so I love that kind of stuff. Like I said, and foundation work, if you have a good contractor, is nothing.
Yep.
I mean, it's expensive, but you're putting that into your price. So those houses, I was getting for, I think one of them I got for maybe 40 grand. It was like a $110,000 house. Actually, that foundation work wasn't even bad. It was $10,000 foundation work. It just looked bad. You see cinder blocks, whatever.
Popping in and all that.
But it wasn't that bad. It was one wall. They trenched it out. They pushed it out. They dropped in a couple beams, and we sold it for, I think, $110,000. And we did some other rehab. But yeah, that doesn't scare me at all. I'm not the guy down there pushing it out, but it's really not that big a deal. Most people think the house is going to fall over.
Yeah, well, that's the fear that comes, and that and the fire damage. Everybody, they don't know who to call.
Yeah, that was my only fire damage.
Who you get? Who do you call? Who's going to deal with it? Who's going to be the contractor?
It takes a lot of time to get to that point where you have those people. I mean, I can walk in a place now and see something. I'm like, boom, I know who I'm calling.
Yeah, you know the one you're calling. Absolutely. That's where you got to. Blair, that's where me and you both have to get to that.
Yeah.
I walk in to see
goals.
Foundation issues. I do still get willy. Can I handle that? It's hard, but we'll get there, won't we, Blair?
Yeah. When we first were looking at rental properties, we were really in love with a duplex actually in downtown Mount Clemens, and our inspector. And he was just the inspector. I don't know if he was a contractor or if he had the wherewithal to give the quote, but he just threw the number of $100,000 in repairs to my husband, who was like, "No, absolutely not," because we weren't even gonna pay $100,000 for the property. So if that was the case, then that wouldn't have been worth it either. But that was just one of the things that he said. He's just like, that is not within like our capacity at this moment to be tackling foundational damaged property. You got to go with something with good bones, because we were just starting out. Like, he and I both have education degrees. He teaches high school. I used to teach elementary school. So when we first got into this, it was just like, what do we know? You know what I mean? Like, we own a house, we live in one, but then that's really all that we knew about real estate when we got started. But, yeah, it's cool to get to new levels. So there's a phrase I've heard, like, new levels, new devils. You know what I mean? Like, different things you've got to conquer at different levels. So like, things are scary when you first jump in, but it loses its bite, it loses its edge for sure. And so I'm so much more comfortable with things now. Like, the goal that I've set for myself. So Erica has posted and referenced SMART goals. And I'm not smart enough to remember the acronym, but I know that, it's like strategic goals that are aligned with like where you at right now, enough so that it's a challenge, but not something that, it's so difficult to tackle. Like you yourself don't even believe that you can achieve it. So like, a year, maybe just a year ago, declaring that I wanted to own 20 units in like a year and a half ish, I'd have been like, I don't even believe that. I can't even like, write that down on a piece of paper. But when I decided that was going to be something I'm going to set my sights on, it was that thing of just like, yeah, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy pursuing this. But I'm at a point now where I believe that I can achieve it, which is very much, what's his name? Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Yep. So very much that, like, you know what I mean? If you believe it, then you can achieve it, but it's got to be within the zone of like belief before you even go out there and tackle it. So that's definitely like in my zone of belief. So like now the part of the goal that I really got to, like, the key that I got to figure out is how do I acquire the private money financing? Because I don't want to go with bank financing, mostly because I just know I'm not going to get bank loans on 20 units. Like that's just not going to happen. I don't even have like necessarily the income on paper yet. You know what I mean? Since I'm a stay-at-home mom and I've just got a little bit of business under my belt. And so it's not even like, how do you acquire private financing? I know how. You go out there and you ask for it, but it's more like the who. So I guess it's not the how, but the who. Like who's going to come into my little sphere and be that person that helps me to make it happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not even like afraid or in doubt that that's going to happen. It's just like, who's it going to be? When's it going to line up? And it's all going to fall into place.
But that will come because you will eventually. You'll find that. And it's about, like you said, it's in your sphere and it's somebody you can trust. Mm-hmm. Because you got to be able to trust who you're working with.
Yeah.
And all that's all part of what they call the team and all that. We all talk about that in everything. When you get that person you can count on and trust, it just makes it so much easier. Like you're saying, you know who to call. They're all part of the team. Mm-hmm. And that's all part of it's building it. And, okay, pick up the phone. Hey, look, I got this great opportunity. You want to fund it?
Yeah.
And once you get to there, and once you get to that point, they're like, yeah, okay, I got you. Shoot me over the information. Boom. Yeah, it looks great. I know you'll do a good job. Boom, you got it.
Yeah. Yep. So I just need to figure out how to put all that together myself. Like, how do I even structure it onto a piece of paper to present it to somebody? So that's what I need to work on myself is like, how do I even form the proposal? You know?
Well, and that's where you can lean on other people in the group too. And we've got David Sobel, so we can. Yeah. You got an attorney there too in the group. It's like, okay, how do you structure this right? And it'll really work out. And now you're an attorney too. Now you said
not an attorney, but I do have a law degree.
You do have a law degree.
Yeah, there's big rules against me putting that out there. I'm not.
You're not an attorney.
JD, just the degree.
Okay. I get that. And you're talking about goals and that, which is great. And I think you're the one talking about the wall, putting up.
Put stuff on my wall. All my goals are on my wall.
Nate's magic wall.
Yeah, Nate's magic wall. That's what was dubbed.
Not my nickname, but that's what I
do.
Magic wall, Nate.
But it really does work when you think about it. It really makes it where you see it every day, you visualize it. And I mean, put stuff on your people. Some people laugh, but it works. You put it on your bathroom mirror. When you get up in the morning,
I've got stuff on my bathroom mirror. Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure.
You see it; it's right there. You keep it in your car because we're in our cars a lot, so you keep it in your car.
Yeah.
Do you do that too? Like, the real word for it was a vision board or vision wall, whatever you want to call it.
I wouldn't say I per se put anything up that I'm going to look at and see every day. I just sort of, when it comes to, I wouldn't even say it's things like this, but since that's what we're here for, I'll say that, I really still believe that, call it America, call it whatever, but it is still the land of opportunity. I mean, you can literally, anybody can do it. You got it. Yeah, there are some people who got dealt a better hand, And I'll be the first to admit, like, I had all of the resources available to me to jump in and do this, but I did it.
Yeah.
I went to law school. Yeah. I went and got my broker's degree. I started the LLCs. I didn't hire somebody to do those things for me. I went and I did those things. So, Blair, I think, is a great example. I mean, you have every reason in the world to be like, nah, this is too hard. We're both teachers. We don't make enough money, or I'm going to stay at home with the kids so then I don't have enough time. But you're doing it. You're making it happen. You just have to get that mindset that is like, I'm not going to blame somebody else because, A didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to get up off my butt and do it. And
well, when you look at Blair's, some of her videos, I love them.
Thanks.
They're like, the family's home. I got to lock myself in the room.
Yeah.
So
I did. I had to run and shut the door. I hide from my children a lot. I do. I had to, my last video, I had to go outside and it was cold and windy because everybody in the house was sleeping. And it's not like I live in a tiny home. We've got 1,500 square foot and then a full basement. But literally during nap time, if I'm anywhere in my home and I speak out loud, somebody wakes up. It doesn't matter.
Oh, and that's
people will call me. People will call me on the phone, and I will just like push my phone away. I will call you back later. I'm not talking to you during nap time. It's nap time.
It's nap time, yeah.
So I do get that's my work time. Also, is nap time to get things done. But Dan, talking about that mindset for sure. Like, it's actually very liberating when you don't blame other people. So there's like two camps that you can be in. You can be in the, camp where you just say, like, why is this happening to me? I don't understand. Or you can be in the camp where you just kind of are like reflective and you say, well, why is this happening? And you can actually look at the situation. But when you decide that it isn't anybody else's power, what it is that you can do. So like if you blame your situation or you blame the establishment or you blame the government or, the man always bringing you down or something like that. You know what I mean?
Reasons,
well, even from like the female perspective, you look at like, you're in competition with men. It's just like, well, that only exists if that's actually your perspective, because your perception is your reality. But when you put things on your own self, which actually requires responsibility, accountability, holding yourself to a certain level, then you actually put the power in your court, Yeah. So when you say things in my life won't change unless the government changes or my father changes or my spouse changes or this establishment, then you actually are saying like, I have to wait until this person changes and I'm relying on them before my situation changes. But when you just put it on you, all you're waiting on is yourself to go out there and make it happen. Yeah. But I think a lot of people, whether they're like intentional about it or they're even aware of it, they shy away from taking that perspective because of the accountability factor. Sure. So just being with somebody who works with children, and I work with teens right now, accountability is dead. Like it's a dead practice within our culture and society. You know what I mean? And just Facebook, the oversharing of what's going on in your life on social media, you can just really see that so many people just aren't taking accountability for their situation. And it's not that it's just annoying, because it's totally annoying, but it's also just really unfortunate because it's as though people don't have the awareness that like they have the power and control over their own life. They
control their life.
They really do. It's sad a little bit.
I mean, that was that thing, Jaco Milicic, I think is his name. I can't remember it. Jocko, he just put out that book, Extreme Ownership.
Okay.
That's a great book. Just about what you're saying. It's do not rely on nobody. If something goes wrong, it's not Jimmy's fault. It's not Kelly's fault. Oh, it's your fault.
Yeah.
What did you do that made that situation come in that didn't work out right? Mm-hmm. And it's all about taking ownership. And that's really a big key to this.
Yeah.
And with you, it's a big thing. Here, you're a stay-at-home mom. You're still working it. You're getting out there and making it happen.
Yeah.
You've got a whole bunch of irons going out there by the sounds, but I know Nate does. You got a whole bunch going out there right now. Yeah. And, if you don't make it happen, nobody's going to make it happen for you. Nobody's going to give it to you.
And you're not handed anything. No.
No.
You got to always be looking for everything. That's why I'm always trying to meet people. And I do, I understand, smaller residential stuff. Like I said, I asked him a bunch of questions about commercial stuff. I've never done commercial. But at the same time, that building was a great deal. Didn't scare me. I knew it would work. It still works with the stupid vacancies.
Yeah, okay.
So I bought it great. Yeah. But so I wasn't scared of that either. But yeah, I still reach out to people, ask all kinds of questions, try to figure out everything I can. But yeah, you try to do as much as you can, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, you're not getting anything.
No, and you're not going to get ahead because it is, to Blair's point, this country still can make it where you can get out there and do anything you want. You see it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see so many people coming in and they're hustling and they're making it. And that's all that we have to do is just hustle and make it. And that's part of the great part about this group is what we're doing is we're all working together.
Yeah.
And you brought in somebody, Shelby. I got to give a shout out to him because great guy. Had great conversation with him yesterday on the phone. Fantastic guy. Can't wait to do some business with him. I think that's going to be a great thing going in the future. And that's all part of it, the networking and the relationship building. It's just, phenomenal. And that's part of this group. That's part of why we're all really here. That's probably, part of the main reason really that it was formed is to help people.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I just really appreciate about this group and being a member of it is a comment that I had made. I can't remember who in the group I was talking to about it, but I was talking about so when I was a teacher, I was just used to having colleagues all around me and we always had collaboration and, it was even forced on you whether you wanted it or not. There were staff meetings and collaboration teams and, a team over the math curriculum, a team over the reading curriculum. And the point is I was just always in the mix with other people who were in a team making it happen. And then you decide that you're going to be an entrepreneur and it's just you making it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and if you're not out there networking yourself, and it can get lonely and especially, for those, for people who if their spouse isn't in it or they don't have a spouse or a significant other or anything like that. Thankfully, my husband and I were pretty on the level with everything. But even that, it's just even that just wasn't enough. It's I really needed a network of people to do exactly what it is that we're doing here. So it's so just true. Fantastic that you can just bounce things off of people who will respond positively and give you something rather than just, I don't know, having a scarcity mindset. Yeah. I got to keep all the knowledge to myself or just having, just having nobody out there to you know what I mean?
Yeah, camaraderie.
Mm-hmm. Camaraderie. Yeah, good word, camaraderie.
Is your Dan is your wife into this or? Oh, maybe shouldn't ask that.
I will. So my wife, she was similar to Blair. She was an RN, and decided to stay home with the kids. She is supportive of it. She I don't think that she would ever really want me to dive into it full on.
Okay.
We have 3 young kids. We just had a daughter 3 weeks ago, so now we have 3 that are 4 and under, and that truthfully, that is the most important to me is to be a dad and be at home and be a family. That's number one. So, could I go crazy with this and blow it up and be everywhere and anywhere? Yeah, I could. That's not something I would want to do right now. And that isn't certainly something that she would be too thrilled about.
No, not at all.
But no, she's great. I mean, she is very supportive, and she actually, she really does a good job keeping me grounded. 'Cause it's MLS, look at this. Oh, this is a no-brainer. And she'll be like, really? You have this, and this going on. You have giant dumpsters out in front of this place, and you have people lifting floors in this one. And she's like, do you really? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, she's reeling that in. Yeah, she's come on back.
Right. Yeah. But she does. I mean, she does take an interest in it, and she's actually a fantastic designer. Just kind of comes naturally to her.
That really helps.
Yeah.
That really helps.
And so, she gives really good input on all kinds of things that we do with finishing touches and stuff. So
no, that works because you got to have somebody. I mean, we seem to and you know what we seem to though when you get into this business. It almost gets super intense, don't it? I mean, it almost consumes your life when you really start getting into this. I mean, my wife just took a vacation, went down to Florida. She goes, I'm going to go relax a little bit because that's all I talk about.
Did she take the vacation without you?
Oh, yes. Her and her girlfriend took off down to Florida.
She wanted a real vacation.
Because I'm going to look at real estate if I'm down there. She didn't want it. Yeah. And they do. They get consumed. I'm like, check this out.
I know.
She's like, really? I got to walk back in there and listen to you again.
It's a sickness.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to be mindful to minimize how much I'm talking about it. And like the moment my husband gets home, don't jump on him with like the coolest thing that was going through my head today, because it's not the coolest thing to him. He just wants to come home because he just taught teenagers all day long. Like, just give him a minute. But yeah, so I try to let him ask me about my day first before I'm just like, but you get really excited about it.
Excited. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It definitely is. It's a great addiction.
Yep.
Great addiction.
It is.
But we'd hit on some good points today, and you with the commercial. Nate, I know he's got some commercial. Blair, she's starting out. I'm doing different stuff. And in this, some of the nuggets that we're trying to give to people was some of the mindset and some of the also we really haven't, besides Nate, really we haven't talked a whole lot about the commercial aspect. So that was great hearing some of that because it is viable.
Yeah.
There's all sorts. I mean, I haven't bought one in Detroit. I thought, oh man, am I going to get stuck with this? I'm like, oh, please sell. And I sold it. I'm like, oh God, let me get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
I was sorry I bought it, but then I made money, so I wasn't sorry. One of those kind of things. Just like, okay, you got rid of it. Mm-hmm. But you never know. It's out there. You can, you just got to look at a little bit of everything and find your niche. Now you've kind of found your niche. You kind of like that stuff.
That was my niche. I mean, I was, one of the things Erica kind of mentioned to me was, they might ask you about what books and stuff you read or podcasts. And I mean, that answer is 0. After going to law school, you don't want to read anymore. I was extremely, extremely fortunate that my cousin he did some of the stuff when he was, younger, and then he kept an active broker's license. So then I was able to go under him. And I didn't need to go under the bigger brokers or whatever and have to listen to that.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep my feelings on that to myself. But, so I don't even know, maybe people listening to this don't know this, but if you have a law degree or you have an MBA or if you're an investor, flipper, whatever, you actually can, just by having that, you accrue I guess they just call it, working education that you can just waive towards your broker's degree or broker's license. So I just took that next step and did it. This has been something that my dad has always done. And so you're kind of talking about, the matrix, the path, how do you get there? What's your, what are you going to do? And the way that I ended up here was just, the best piece of advice I ever got was from my dad. And he was like, when you're going to do this, stay on your path. And what he meant by that was not only stay on your path for the type of investments that you're going to do, but make sure that they're on your path. Is it on your way home from work? Is it on your way to work? Is it on your way to your in-laws' house? Is it on your way to places you go?
Yeah.
Because that's easy. You don't have to, if there's a door that comes off the hinge or a bifold that breaks or something. When you're starting out, just go do it. And those little things add up. It's like, that's a $50 house call for Mr. Handyman. And then you don't know what he's really doing because maybe it only needs a new screw and he's going and buying a whole new door, And so that is I still kind of do that. Honestly, I'll go out a little bit, but then the other biggest piece of advice that got me started, and I don't necessarily do that now, but my cousin, he is, I'll call him prolific investor in Flint. And I mean, he has made some serious money in Flint. And it was one of those things for him where he was like, I'm starting out, I'm at a minimum of a 20% cap rate. you're not going to get that too much going far south.
No, you gotta
so
go
you turn your
there.
car around and you go north.
Yeah.
So the very first investment that I ever did, and scared out of my mind, but followed the path, I bought a five unit apartment in Columbiaville, Michigan. Yeah, where's Columbiaville? Right?
Columbiaville,
yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
It's up there. But it had a 25% cap rate.
Oh, wow.
And so it was it was like, yeah, I'm scared and this is my first investment, but it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. I mean, seriously, the thing could fall down and I'm good. It's okay. And so from there, and then you build it up, and Port Huron is another great area.
Yeah.
Mount Clemens is fantastic. Like you were saying, Warren is fantastic. St. Clair Shores is pretty good. Richmond you're getting into is good. And so it's like, this is just kind of, this is where my path took me. This is where my path is going to stay. And it works. And now I don't, I don't need 20% now, I'm at the point where it's kind of building up a little more equity to sell it in the long term or something like that, or taking risks on these places that are falling down and things like that, that nobody else wants. Because let me tell you, if you go into a place down in St. Clair Shores and 5 people show up and it's falling down and they walk out, if I go into a place like that up here, there's no other people. There's none. I'm bidding against myself. So, it can be, but it works because it's on my path.
Yeah, it's on your path. Yeah, that's very true. That's a great point too. A lot of us, I know we've, myself personally, you dabble here, dabble there, figure out what you do like. Then once you figure it out, it's like, okay, let me run with this now. You know, and it's different. You've taken a lot of different paths, Nate. And now you really liking the buy and holds.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I started, was just to have a lot of buy and holds. I got into flipping just to buy and holds, but I don't know. Basically, I just jumped in. I mean, I learned as much as I could, but at some point, you got to just like do stuff. Otherwise, you're just sitting there reading books forever. And I still read all day. I podcast. I love reading. I love learning stuff. So I listen to podcasts like all day, anytime I get free time. But you just got to jump into stuff. Like my first house, I could have came up with 500 reasons not to buy it. I could have said, I don't have the full $25,000 to buy this house. That was an easy reason to walk away from. I figured it out. I put it under contract. Then I figured it out. My first flip, same thing. It was a $38,000 house. I have 100 reasons. I didn't have anything lined up for that. I put it under contract. I had a 2-week close on it, and in 2 weeks I found $38,000 with another $25,000 to rehab it. None of that was just jumped right in. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do this, or I'm either going to sink. Let me get out there and get at it.
I did it smartly. I had inspection clauses and whatever. Worst case, even if I went past it, it was $1,000 EMD. Ton of money to me at the time. I worked at a car wash. It was a lot of money. It was probably almost everything I had saved up.
And you were like 19, right?
First flip, I would have been 20. 19, I bought my first house. Yeah. So when I was 19, I had $5,000. But when on my flip, I think I spent the $5,000 in my rental and whatever. But so once you're educated, I just jumped in. I like I said, I could still be sitting here today and never bought anything if I walked away.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do that. Unfortunately, they'll look over it and they'll analyze it, and then they get afraid. Then they're like, oh, that ain't enough. Like I said, now you can get down there. And I understand when you're first starting out, you don't want to do a skinny deal where it's like 10% cap rate or something. You're a little scared. You try to do it a little bit better. Or you're doing your first flip. Oh, there's only $20,000 in there. Then you can't get caught up. You better be pickier when you're first starting out. But then when you get a little bit more seasoned, you can, then it's not really even winging it at that time. You actually know more. Your knowledge base is so much bigger. You can, I can do that for that. That guy can't, but I know I got the guy that can.
I guess, I might have worded that. Basically, like if your numbers are right on paper, just go for it. Just try it out. Try it. Worst case, even if you lose $5,000, $5,000 education, next one you'll do better.
You're not. I mean, I can guarantee you, his costs a lot more. That education costs a lot more than $5,000. I mean, sometimes if you lose a little money, it's like, okay, get up and re-go. You're not going to die. You're going to be fine.
That is the positive of having an education degree that I'm not using, is I know how much that cost me. And I also know how much that made me, which was nothing, which is why I decided to pursue other things. So yeah, if you've got an education, you paid for it, you went to university, like, you know what I mean? So losing $5,000 in something or putting up $5,000 to do something, it just doesn't seem that scary. So, but Nate, if I can ask you a question, I actually want to hear more about your big scheme. So aren't you tackling like an apartment complex right now, or that's your goal?
Yeah, well, my goal is to I want to get like a 50-unit apartment building. On my wall, I think by 2020 to have at least one 50-unit building. I'll have 22 rental units by the 23rd. I close on a duplex. I have 22 right now. But that is like a 50-unit complex, like one property, 50 doors is what I'm trying to buy. Ideally this year would be great, but in the meantime, I buy anything that works. But
do you have anything like in the mix for your big unit? Like anybody you're talking to?
Yeah, well, I'm working on a bunch of stuff. It's tougher than you think. Same thing. It's all relationship based. So I'm trying to. Everyone I know knows me as doing residential and I have a 4-unit in Port Huron. That's not commercial. That's nothing. The only thing I have a 6-unit. I put together actually a pretty big deal in Detroit of redevelopment. But that was actually a very large deal. But I'm looking to do one that's occupied and just go from there. And that's what I'm trying to get into so I can scale it. I want 1,000 doors. So I can't do that doing my 4 units duplexes. Yeah, I got like 6 duplexes.
Yeah.
Well,
you can't do
and probably one of the more difficult issues too with trying to get a 50 unit is finding it. There's just not that many.
Finding something that someone wants to let go.
I actually put together a list. I got some help from somebody, and I sourced the whole list. I think I got 47 apartment buildings on it, and kind of close to where I live. And but yeah, the majority of them are 8 units. There might be 240 units. Yeah, that's it. There might be a 70 unit, and probably can't get that because the guy's probably gonna keep it. But yeah, the list is basically 10 to 30 unit buildings, which I'm fine with. That's great. I'll do 10 of those. That works. I just so I got to keep making that list bigger, and I'm gonna start direct mailing. I actually started that, but mostly I'm just trying to build relationships in multifamily versus all the relationships I have now are great, but I'm trying to get more people who that's all they do is apartments.
That's true. Well, that's a whole different set. Actually, it is.
Yeah, and the tough part is once you can't prove to someone you can buy one until you buy one. So you're not gonna give me one until I have one.
So
it's a weird problem.
So I have a question for you to follow up from that too, and maybe advice to follow it. What would be your plan to manage 500 doors, 50 doors? So I would get a third party management company. I've actually talked to a couple that manage apartment buildings around here. That's the toughest part. And I've went over this with a couple of mentors of mine, but the weird part is in Metro Detroit, we're not like an apartment community. I flew to Texas for a little like conference. Everyone there was apartment investors. Sure. Down there, they have 100,000 apartment units in 10 square miles or something stupid. So their infrastructure is crazy. Here, there's not many management companies that do that. So initially, I would hire it, but eventually, I might get my own, but not me managing it. Just kind of hold my own broker's license. I am a licensed agent now. That's kind of a newer thing. Okay. But I do want to push that into a broker's license so I am able to manage my own stuff. So something interesting. Again, this was from my cousin. He ended up. I don't know what he ended up with in Flint. A lot. We'll say 200-300. He formed his own company.
Yeah.
He had the company that he was. The company that he was working with, he sat down and he did the math, and he's like, okay, I'm paying them 10% here. They get 3 rooms at this place, like however they had it worked out. And he's like, how much of that's getting over to the guy that's actually doing the work?
Yeah.
So he called the guy, and I think he was like, I'll give you $40,000 a year. I'll start my own company, and you just do my stuff. And that guy couldn't have accepted it fast enough.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was like, you almost never have to be there. You get a guy you trust and form your own company, and you do it that way. And it sounds like you were kind of on that path anyways, but.
Yeah, I just want to hit a certain amount of units before I do that.
Yeah, so, sure. It's got to. Yeah,
that actually is the way I'll go. And like I said, it would be my own company, but I don't like property management. I hate it. I've done it, but I have people who do it. Yep. That's my goal because there's not many that are. It's a totally different scale and different sophistication.
Yep.
I eventually want my own.
Sure.
Plus, then you know everything. No one's hiding anything from you.
Correct.
Not that anyone's trying to, but I mean, if your management company, something weird goes on, I'm sure they try to put it in the best light, and you don't actually know that. So
that's the problem with most management companies. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. Most of them are a little on the shady side, and most of them are not dependable, especially here in Michigan. I hate to say it. You hear a lot of bad stuff about them here.
Yeah.
You go down in some of them other states, like you say in Texas, and that is so big, and I think they got to be a little bit more reliable and stuff like that, or they're just going to get weeded out real quick.
I think you just got to look at it like you would if you were in any other industry. I mean, if you were, if your trade was concrete, you want to be the one doing it. Like you want to be the guy. Yeah, I'm pouring it. I'm spreading it. I'm, whatever. So it shouldn't be different just because it's this. I mean, if this is what you're going to do, you got to be hands on. You got to be in the office.
You got to be.
You do. You
surely do.
No one will ever care about your business as much as you do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fact.
It's a fact.
That's a fact.
So
can't get out of that.
Right. I mean, if you're going to sign up with management company A and say, hey, I'm going to give you 10%, well, what's their incentive to do anything more than the bare minimum?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
No, I think you're definitely on the right path at that, though, Nate.
Yeah,
but
like
you were saying, you gotta. Everybody always says you got to get to a certain number.
Yep.
Before the numbers, like you said, your cousin, he looked at him and said, "Oh well, wait a minute, I can even save money and get better by doing it. Let me jump ship and go over here and do that."
Yeah.
And once you get there, I'm guaranteed you're going to hit your goals. So once you get there, you'll be able to do all that. You're definitely going to hit them. You're already on the way. You've got the vision, you got the push, you got the drive. You're just going to keep going. Yeah.
That's a cool story, Nate. It's good. No, seriously, it's a good story how you got started.
Yeah.
That's great. It's great. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, this one here is just about ready to wrap up. But
you've been listening to the Michigan Real Estate Investor Network podcast. Let's call it the network. To subscribe to the show, go to www.michiganreinetwork.com, where you can have the show sent right to your inbox. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. If you'd like to be on a future show, there's a link on the site to submit your info. The network is 100% focused on the Michigan real estate investing community. Whether you're brand new or a grizzled vet, we want you to be a part and share the love.